Welcome to Exiles, a Gospel of Mark podcast. We're coming to you from Grace Church in Erie, Pennsylvania, where we're taking what we learn about ancient truths in the person of Jesus into our everyday life. You can check out whoisgrace.com/Mark for the sermon and resources that we're using for our conversation. Thanks for joining us today for season 4. We're in the section of Mark that we've named the King's Narrow Path. We're following Jesus and his disciples as they turn south from the region of Galilee toward Jerusalem. Each step of the way, Jesus reveals himself through his words and work, bringing his followers ever closer to understanding his identity and mission that will ultimately lead to the cross. Thanks for joining us. Hello.
Hello.
How are you all?
Hello.
Hi.
Doing good? Yeah, welcome back to you,
Welcome,
Sarah. We
thanks.
missed you last week.
Yes.
Andrew
You
was
were
great. We
tardy.
missed you.
I was in Charlotte.
Well, you
On
were
a vacation.
You were tardy nonetheless.
Charlotte.
Isn't tardy being late not absent?
I don't know. Is it? Maybe.
Tardy's being late, but you're technically
Well,
late. You're
you're a
very
week
late.
late.
You're a
I'm
week
sorry, I
late.
feel like that was kind of rude.
Yeah, well,
I just kind of shot you right down.
that's how it goes.
I just straight out was like mean to you and put you down in front of everyone. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, well, I called you tardy, so.
I walked in.
Anyway, what's the opening question?
Anywho, question for the day. If you could have an animal as a sidekick, what would you choose and why?
I'm not going to go with the obvious.
Please don't.
Well, yeah, the obvious is a dog.
Yes,
But we'll
that's my
take that one
obvious.
off the table.
but you
just
could do
for the-
like maybe a very specific one or something.
I'm going to need a time to think about this
Oh,
one.
wow. Okay.
Do you
Is it-
have one?
Say it again.
If you could have an
be a
animal as a sidekick, what would you choose and why?
and I'm a superhero.
Oh,
or
do,
just
it,
like
do
in
whatever
life.
you need. I just mean in life, but do whatever you need to do to make
You
this work.
can.
Actually, superhero is kind of cool. Take it however you need to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To get it.
Yeah.
I always like jaguars
Oh, yeah.
because they're like lions, but they're like
Stealthy ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're cool.
I'm like, did you say your name?
Oh, my name is Mike. I'm one of the pastors here at Grace.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. I don't know about you guys, but instantly in my mind, when you asked that question, I was instantly envisioning myself walking in slow motion. And what awesome animal is next to me?
Wow, I love it.
That's revealing.
Is that where your
I
head
love how
went?
Sarah
'Cause you
is
were-
like, I don't know
No.
about you guys, but something really crazy, like always.
But is that why you thought of yourself as a superhero? Were you doing the same thing?
Well, she just said sidekick, so I
Yeah,
just
I
kind of
was-
thought
But
I didn't
like,
have like a slow mo action scene of she's back for season 2.
Yeah.
So what animal?
I don't know. I mean,
She focused on herself.
She just, what outfit are you wearing in the slow motion?
She is the animal and the superhero.
I clone myself.
She doesn't need a sidekick.
I mean, because the sidekick is, I instantly want to go like big, right?
Okay, yeah.
Like an elephant?
Yeah,
That would be cool.
that would be really neat. I don't know.
All right, that's okay.
I'll stick with the elephant for now, but I want to think about it. And if something else comes up, then I'll let you know.
Okay. Steven, need more time to think?
Yeah,
I can go. I think mine would be like a red panda. Because they're like so cute
They're so
and fun. But I promise you, if you like get on their bad side, I think they're pretty bad.
like Kung Fu Panda.
yeah, like they'll just scratch your eye out. And they'll,
Scrappy.
just
I like
they
that
can kind of
choice.
like hang on your shoulder, or they could like cute walk next to you. And I think about that movie Red Panda.
like, climb
what
on
is it
you.
called? Red. It was like a Disney movie, Pixar movie.
Oh yeah,
Controversial, but that red panda gets huge. So that's what I would want. I would want it to be
a
cute
good
and little.
choice.
And
I
then
like
just-
that.
sits on you and hangs out. That's
Yeah,
really that's
anyway.
cute. That's something. That's fitting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's cool. So I don't know what this reveals about me, but I instantly thought about a sloth.
I did too.
Just because I thought,
Like to calm you
That
down.
is not what I thought
well,
about.
I thought, well, they wouldn't do anything quickly, but my brain goes to that rabbit movie. What was that movie called? Where she's a police officer.
Oh yeah, Zootopia.
Zootopia.
Yeah.
I don't know why my brain went here.
Yeah.
But the sloth was the guy that on
Yeah.
the computer.
He was
And
the
I'm just
DMV
thinking,
guy.
You know, I need an admin if I'm a superhero.
That's the way to
cute.
take it.
Somebody to pick up all
That's
the
a real
pieces.
side. He was
Also, even though they're slow, I do think sloths can do damage too to people. Those claws
Yeah.
Could you imagine if they just
slowly peeled your face
Wait, yeah, they're
off.
just
Or something.
around your throat, just slowly
You're like, what?
closing.
Wait, are you gonna do
Holy.
something or are you not gonna?
I mean, it's getting dark, but somebody would need to be tied down.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, anyway.
Anyway,
was revealing.
thank you as always for indulging
Yeah,
Mike
us.
was a superhero. I'm in slow motion.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Danielle has me so sweet and
Steven
cute
just
and
wanted to
cuddly.
help with
I
his
just
admin.
I just need an admin. That's all.
You just need an admin and someone to
Give me an
slow you
admin, I'm
down.
good.
To do his work.
All right, so we're in Mark 10, and we're talking about we're surrounding kind of the sons of thunder and like their audacious request to Jesus. And as we're talking about this, you just want to put in your mind the idea of our theme is discipleship failure, and we're asking ourselves, what is holding me back from looking more like Jesus? When I heard Pastor Derek say that, it's been a long time since he said that phrase because we obviously haven't been in Mark, and I just thought, whoa, if we like say that phrase too quickly, it just seems like a throwaway. Like, what am I doing? What's holding me back from looking more like Jesus? But if you really like deep that question,
Dwell on it.
yeah, so just wanted to seed that now for our conversation as we're talking, but and for you guys listening, obviously.
It's clearly not the animal that Sarah has as a sidekick.
No, clearly not.
In slow motion.
Yeah, maybe in slow motion. All right, so a lot of this is about power and the idea, we've talked about this, like the upside down kingdom of God and how the disciples are just like not getting it. And this is a perfect example of that. Just general thoughts on like their posture, what's going on in the time.
My first thought was, I'd probably be a son of thunder for sure.
Oh, you definitely would be.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
No,
thanks
I don't
for
mean it
that.
in a bad way, but you would.
Yeah, like the achiever.
Yeah.
Like pulling for status.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I can totally relate to that.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
when
me
Derek
too.
said that,
Yeah.
that's where my brain went.
That's good.
I mean, I guess this is Jesus we're talking about. So when he's telling them stuff, it's not like he's leaving details out, right? Do you think that they were just having a hard time grasping it because they just, in a way, they just didn't want to believe what was actually going to happen?
Maybe.
They wanted to like make themselves feel, it made them feel very uncomfortable. So they were trying to find a way to not have to. Because when I think about his crucifixion and things, there's times where like I don't think I can grasp the reality of it because it's so beyond. But they were living in the time of crucifixion, right? So they knew like
So they could.
they knew what was coming. So why
Well,
was it so
not
hard
really.
for them?
I think they knew. Well, Jesus didn't say. When he said lift it up, they knew what crucifixion was.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes,
but
thank
I
you.
don't think they had any way to reconcile what Jesus was saying with what they were believing that the coming Messiah was going to do. This
Right.
common political power and military power and free Israel. And I think in one ear, out the other ear, they're just like, what? I don't know what that means. We'll figure it out later.
just
But I can't
hadn't-
wait. Can I
It's
be
almost
with
like they
you?
had nothing to compare it to. Like there's never been an experience.
Whereas we are very comfortable with the fact that Jesus died on the cross and like and the
We're
the servant
afterwards.
piece and all that. But then if you think about, we're not familiar with crucifixion.
No,
So if you really dwell on that,
we have a
That's like
hard
another-
time comprehending that
I think
because
so.
we weren't there.
You ever been in those moments of life where you're like, I don't see the path, but this person's telling me to trust them.
Sure.
Like I think as a dad, you know, like your
Yeah.
kids are, you're like, that's not gonna work. You know, you have a perspective that they don't have. I think that's what's going on here. Like
Yeah,
Jesus
that's good.
going, it's gonna be a victory. It's like
you have
I don't
no
see any
idea.
logical way
Yeah.
that victory is gonna come about. With
And
the
were
words that
they
you're saying.
were they more focused on what they thought the other side was going to look like than what was actually going to have to happen to get there?
Well, yeah,
Am I
and I
making
think
sense?
I think you have to remember, like, they were literally being oppressed, right?
Yeah.
So Jesus' language, to be fair to them, could have been a bit confusing. Like,
Exactly.
oh, okay, yeah, new kingdom.
So they're thinking a worldly aspect, like he says.
I think so. I mean, we don't know what they're thinking,
Yeah.
but their behavior would lead me to think that they were like
It's gonna happen in front of
misunderstanding
them.
when he
Right,
talked about
right.
power, what power looks
Or
like.
also, did they think it was going to happen like immediately after he rose?
I don't think they had any concept of
concept
any
at
of
all.
that.
What? Yeah.
Eventually
yeah.
they did, but
And it's fascinating to think about. So this is the third time that they told. Like imagine them sitting there, like Jesus, and he's risen from the dead, and he ascends, and like the church is going, and imagine him just sitting over there over a glass of wine and being like, "Remember when Jesus told us that?
Yes.
Whoa, that did not turn out how I expected." Like,
right.
And how many? And like when you say to your kids, and you're, it's not going to turn out that way. And now I'm sitting here, and remember my
Shoot.
dad told me that wasn't going to turn out. Dang it, he was
Maybe you
right.
should ask the better question when you said it. Like, tell me more.
That's funny. Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit more. 2 ways that Jesus changes, upends our definitions of power. First, in 42, 44, he teaches that radical servanthood is a power move. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, the tension of that.
Yeah. And to be practical with it, and he literally says this statement in his sermon too, that just we have this culture now in American Christianity where churches and individual Christians are putting their hope in this power of the political system, the government, to be able to not only, we've talked about this before several times, but not only just give us a quote unquote safe place to be Christians, but bring forward some sort of kingdom that I don't know what's going on with us right now that we think as a people. I know you guys probably don't individually think all these things, but like that the government's our hope because it's powerful.
Yeah, but
Honestly,
that's a real thing for people.
It is.
For sure. I don't know if any of us around this table would say that, but I mean, you see it
You
in
see
the
it.
response to, political figures and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Where am I I'm going to go off on a tangent here
Great.
or go
Take
off
us.
on left field for a second because
Hold on.
I think that we can use this as ammunition sometimes.
Sure.
I think
The servanthood as ammunition? Yeah.
for sure.
Okay.
Like I've seen it play out in the church sometimes that sometimes people who are serving the most are the most unhealthy.
They're like weaponizing it.
Yeah, and they're weaponizing it. So I just think that's something that we have to be very aware of. And I think about it within the context of the disciples, like that may have been a thing too. Like I'm going to buddy up to Jesus, I'm going to be the teacher's pet, if you will. I'm going to be the first in line and help him out. And maybe I'll get to sit at his right hand, maybe that sort of stuff. So I just think maybe a word of caution for whatever reason I'm bringing it up. I feel like we got to be careful with that sometimes in the church. Like, is our heart for serving actually the right type of power move? It may be a power move, but it may not actually be the healthiest power move.
Or are you doing it for the wrong glory?
Yeah, for the wrong
And
reasons, yeah.
It's not just like an eternal power move, like because the upside down kingdom, and this is like, whichever Jesus says a couple different times, like don't sit at the head of the table, sit at the bottom, so you get invited up rather than sit at the head and get told to like, that's a good life principle.
Sure is.
Like, and that is low key a power move because then you get like honored. So it's not like Jesus just spouting off with some like stuff that's crazy. Like there's validity to it from an earthly perspective. There's validity to it, obviously, from an eternal perspective.
Yes.
But it's the heart posture from which we're serving or being last or like that's the key driver.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, we all know him. Not everybody listening on the podcast will, but Carlin, I think, is really a great example of this.
If you've not met yet, Carlin,
He
go
is
find
just
him.
the
Carlin,
sweetest.
Carlin's on staff here at Grace.
He's on staff here at Grace, and it's just like sometimes he just bleeds servanthood, but it's not for any, recognition, accolades, anything like that. But it just goes so far. So when Jesus is talking about that servanthood being a power move, it's like if it comes out of the genuineness of your heart, like people notice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like your ears perk up, and you're like, "Whoa."
And his voice has gained stature. He has gained influence because of the way
100%.
in which he goes
Yeah.
about serving and
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
make sure he listens to this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you
Me
think about
too.
it from like a neighborhood standpoint as well, like how do we interact with our neighbors in that way? Like that consistency of servanthood over time. When crisis strikes for that neighbor, think about Carlin, like that you can trust him.
Right.
You know that there's a consistency there. You know that if he says he's going to do something, he's probably going to do it because he's shown you over time. Like, how do we live our lives in such a way, with our neighbors, our colleagues, so on and so forth, that there's a confidence in you that others have because of that servanthood.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what we're talking about when we're talking about power move.
Yeah, that's really good. That's a good perspective. Yeah, and along those lines you talked about like weaponizing it. I think was it this sermon? Yeah, it was this sermon where he had he talked about dream disciples and how there were some people that were saying like, oh, kind of how dare we call them dream disciples, and that's a version. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, obviously, but that's a version of that kind of like posturing around how holy or selfless you can be publicly.
Yeah.
Is slippery. And again, please, I know this is your guys' heart too. Like, we are all messed up individuals, the four of us. So this is just something we're talking about. We're not saying like, oh, we're better than you because we didn't do this, that, or the other. It's just an example. So just want to say that. We're not saying like we've got this figured out.
I don't.
I definitely don't.
Speaking of political, I just got a nice little spam text.
Oh, wow.
Those are flooding in.
Yeah. We're going to go
Stop
there
to
already?
end.
Sure, yeah. Go ahead. Tell us how you feel about it, Sarah.
Yikes. Thank goodness my Google phone detects it and I can block it.
Oh, really?
Block. Like it'll say report spam. I'm like, yes, please. And then it's like, it gives you the option to block it. And I
false.
block
We
it.
get sponsored by Google.
Shout out.
Those are fake.
Okay, so
I think it is important, though. I think Derek covered it well with the dream disciple issue. Like, it's an aspirational term.
Correct.
But we want to redefine it, too. Because, dream disciple
Yes.
could be cocky. It could be...
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a really bad term if it has the wrong motives behind it. But it's actually a really healthy term. I don't think Jesus... I don't think Jesus picked the ragtag bunch that he picked with the hopes that they would stay ragtag.
Right.
Right,
know,
exactly.
Aspiration is good and healthy,
100%.
but Jesus is redefining to
What
which
the-
we're aspiring.
To which end, yeah.
It's like, watch these guys
look what I'm going to do.
become great.
Yep.
Watch these guys become dream disciples. And they ultimately did.
Yeah.
Minus Judas. But
Well,
Man.
moment of silence.
did
for
he
Judas.
repent at the end? That's what
We
I
don't
always
know.
wonder. That's what I always
That's a
wonder.
left field
That was
question. That's a
a-
good theology.
I'm sure he had his conversation.
Like, if there was genuine repentance, like, will we be shocked?
I would not be shocked.
I would not be
Judas and
shocked if he
Hitler
was there.
could theologically, technically, potentially be in heaven.
Oh, you went to the Hitler.
I
Yep.
mean,
I was comfortable talking about Judas. Just kidding.
technically, Judas was worse, right? He killed the Son of God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
We could get
But this is part of it. It's like, it's the whole like fairness thing. Like,
yeah.
oh, I served with Jesus for like my whole life, and then
Yeah.
he died, and I kept going, and I got boiled in oil, and then I get up there, and the first person I see is Judas.
That was
Could you
that.
imagine?
But like, that's part of our human. That's the
Right.
human. That's the part that our brains can't.
Yeah.
That's
Or
a-
we always say, like, if someone does something horrific, we're like, well, that person has a special place in hell. Mm-hmm. And you don't
Yeah.
know that.
You don't, which is wild.
And that's the scandal of grace.
Exactly.
You have a special
my
place in
favorite
hall
phrase.
too, except for the fact that Jesus
we
Saved
all
me
have a
with
special
my
place.
ransom.
Yeah,
we'll
it's
get there.
Wow.
Oh wow, we all have a special place in hell. It's true.
Ooh, that would be a good t-shirt.
Again.
T-shirt.
Yeah, it would.
And on the back, it was like,
Why we
except
needed
for
the
grace of
ransom.
God.
Vacancy, yeah.
Scandal of grace. Hashtag
The
scandal.
oil thing, I was hung up on that for a while.
Oh,
When
the
I-
boiled in oil.
who was up crucified? Was Peter
That was
upside
Peter,
down?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Crucified upside down, which is just imagine that head rush.
Yeah, I mean, those guys,
roller coasters.
those
like,
guys
it's dope.
died horrific.
Imagine Stephen, the first martyr, stoning. Like you literally get giant rocks thrown at your head until it breaks
Do you know how
open
long
and you die.
it took them to die?
Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to Exiles,
Well,
Gospel of Mark
I mean,
podcast.
that's it though. But that's what
yeah,
that's their.
seriously.
That was their.
And also too,
Road.
let's just keep going. So these horrible deaths, I think about this. If I was in a position, hopefully I'll never be, but the world is the world, right? If I was in a position where I was going to be tortured or die a horrible death because of my love for him, would I have the kahunas?
That's like a mic word.
Well,
I think it's cojones.
Do you know
that's
Is
a
it-
tame. Yeah. Huevos.
Kahunas. Let's go with kahunas.
Kahuna Matata, or
Please write in and let us know what it is.
it's what I
But you know
said.
what I mean? Like, and I've actually had this conversation with Jesus a lot. Like, would I be able? Would I have the guts if I was in a position, or would I flake out because I'm too afraid of what is coming for me? And then he has made it very clear to me. Why wouldn't you just ask me for bravery? And I'm like, oh,
I would
Yeah.
say it's kind of when Derek talked about the unforgivable sin. If you're asking, have I done the unforgivable sin? You probably haven't. If you're asking the question right now, do I have the guts?
Probably.
If I was
You would
throwing
give me
10
the
bucks
guts?
on it, I would say you probably wouldn't have the guts.
I think about how they all died, and
You
I'm just like,
would have to be in your car talking to, because that's where you talk to Jesus.
and Gemma,
Yeah.
hanging out in Gemma and talking to Jesus. Yeah,
Oh, Gemma. Yeah, she has
Gemma.
a name.
She has
That's
a
right.
name.
Gemma.
Gemma,
Gemma.
Gemma.
Not Gemma,
Gemma,
but Gemma.
Gemma,
Interesting.
Gemma.
Gemma.
It's the name of
It's actually got a very beautiful meaning, so that's why I chose it, and because she looks like a gem, emerald green. Let's move on. But that's why she's named Gemma.
It's a good name. I forgot about that name.
It's a great name.
Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, is it?
It's the
I never
mom.
saw that show.
Gemma, right?
Never seen it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've never seen either, obviously.
Yeah, of course not.
I've heard.
But yes, I do talk about that stuff. I think about that a lot. Mm-hmm. And I think even though, let's just keep talking about the oil thing. Like, could you imagine?
No, I
was
don't.
going
What are,
through?
I'm,
Yeah.
guys, this
I
one's
love
going to
that
get
you're
taken
saying,
down.
Let's keep talking about the
Anyway,
oil.
back to the oil. Boiling in oil.
It
Oh
just
my gosh.
blows my mind how what they took and they got their cup, right?
Yeah. I had a thought. I did have a thought about, like, you guys on this podcast got me to watch The Chosen. So I did think, like,
Get on 4.
I think the whole point of The Chosen is going to be following them after Jesus leaves them. I think it's going to, it just feels like it's hearkening to that. Like, we're going to see, like, them build the church and stuff.
That'd be cool.
And if they do that, like, are we going to have to, like,
Are we gonna wash them in oil? Ugh.
like, is this going to, I don't think they're going to show them being boiled in oil,
You'll
but
have
like,
an idea of, like,
are we
what's
going to see
happening.
their different endings? Anyway, I don't know.
I think about that a lot.
But yeah, this is obviously the ultimate. I can't even. Now I'm thinking about boiling in oil.
I
This is
know.
going to be the worst
I mean, let's
episode
just
we've
come
ever
back to
done.
that
Sorry.
for a
Anyway, back to boiling in oil.
some French
Sorry,
fries.
everyone.
But
Hopefully the kids aren't in the car.
Thanks, Derek.
Okay, so we're talking about definitions of power. Derek talked about 3 insecurities that cause you to choose the world's playbook. Okay, so he said they are the desire to please people. Number 1, the need to impress people. Number 2, and number 3, the urge to protect self.
Protect.
Anybody comfortable to talk about which one kind of rises up for you personally?
Protecting myself.
Okay.
Yes.
From
I used
Boiling in oil.
I think I'm a type of character, and maybe this is tied to an Enneagram 8. Where we at?
yeah.
You're an 8 too?
Yeah.
He is.
What are you-
3
what are-
8s.
2 8s and 2. No, you're an 8.
Yeah, I'm an 8. Yeah.
What are you?
Eight,
A
eight.
5.
Poor you.
But our triangles are connected somehow, aren't they?
I think we go there in stress.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I go to a 7 in stress
Oh.
because I don't want to I don't want to know any details about anything. So I go to like a fun place.
Oh.
Because we're protective. 8s are protective of others, but I think we're also protective of ourselves. Like when I think of protective, I also think of defensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like
Oh, I didn't realize you're all 8s. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't like to be accused of something that isn't
Shoot.
true about me. That's my,
Yeah.
like, if you make an accusation that's so far from my character.
if you're stepping into a space that you. Oh,
We're
sorry.
in a podcast. Use the microphone.
You guys, how long have we been out?
Sarah's like all over this room.
Making laps.
Carried around.
Sarah's laying down in
Thank
a
you.
beanbag chair. Okay.
No, I forgot my.
Oh, sorry. When you
Someone steps into a space.
If someone steps into a space that they're not allowed in, and is it encroaching? Am I saying that right?
Approaching, yeah.
I'm like, whoa. So I don't know if that's like really what he's trying to say here, though. Like, is it that kind of protectiveness, or is he saying
No,
something
I think
else?
that's
I think
not
it's
just
good.
not just physically, but you're talking about like relationally
Protecting
or
my
emotionally
character.
or yeah.
Protecting, like,
Yeah.
I used to be a people pleaser. Impressing people, I don't think that was really anything that really haunted me, but I used to be and then I got exhausted.
Yeah.
That came with age and
So
time.
I could care less about pleasing people. I think I've probably made that apparent
clear.
in different ways. And I'm not really worried
Every
about.
sermon you preach.
Every hallway I walk down.
I'm not worried
sailed.
about. Yeah, and it's not it's the impress piece, and the impress and please could they can look similar, but they are different. Like I don't care if you're pleased with me, but I do want to impress you. I do want to achieve. 3 was very close to my 8. Like I want to be seen as the guy, and speaking of like I think I've said this before. I can only remember the Enneagrams off their negative connotation.
Yeah,
so,
it's easy
so the
to
8
do.
is a control
It's usually the
freak.
bigger deal,
So I'm a
right?
control freak. So I like to be in control. I like to call the shots. I like to impress people with my abilities. And God has slowly and painfully ripped layers upon layers of pride out of my life.
Yeah.
I hope we're done. I don't think we are.
Never.
Yeah, you're probably,
Probably
not.
not.
Sorry.
The heart's deceitfully wicked.
Oh my goodness.
There was so many opportunities to get it in earlier.
Yeah.
I held back.
Good
guys.
job.
I held back.
But he only
Until
says like the first
this
couple words,
moment.
and he starts to mumble off. He's like, blah, 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 blah.
I do have that mumbling voice. So I get annoyed. I get annoyed with Nicole, but well, I used to get annoyed with Nicole or my parents. Like that, they would. Everybody always asks what when I talk, until I
listening to
until I
yourself on
started
here?
going on podcasts, and I'm like,
I mumble.
what did he say? Because I like
that
start
me?
Yeah.
up. Everybody get that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's. I think it's been an iteration of all of them at some point in my life, honestly. Impress people is the constant. Like, that's the common denominator. As an achiever, I want to be seen and known as somebody who is capable. That's a value of mine, for better or for worse. I think as a pastor, a lead pastor, I've felt the desire to please people at times,
Sure.
especially when you've got differing opinions. They're not necessarily bad opinions, but you're not going to go in that direction. You know, do you want to please that person or not? And then most recently in this season of life, protecting self has definitely felt like a temptation,
Yeah.
a constant temptation at times. Like, I want to protect my space.
Sure.
You know, not in that same position anymore. So I get some breathing room. I get to
Sure.
do things for myself, my family. So when something comes up, no, I want to protect my time, you know? So those are, you know, they have their bad traits. I think I've danced with all of them at times.
Yeah. I think it's a worthwhile question to ask yourself, like if you're wondering, you know, or ask other people, you know, what they see in you. That's a good, I thought it was really cool and vulnerable for Derek to say, like, sometimes you see this, but I'm actually doing this, or, you know, that's an interesting thing, like an exercise just to write down, like, what do people see of you?
Yeah.
What is actually
That doesn't mean it's not true.
Right.
Like, the things people see can be true, but like, do you have other like motivations that you know, lead you to act in those ways?
I think that's a really important practical exercise for anybody to do.
Yeah.
I think Derek led by example very well, because that's a scary thing as in his position to do.
Sure.
Yep.
Because it can be, you know, it can be used against him potentially. But in those safe spaces that you have, hopefully you have safe spaces, is to let people know in this moment, here's what I'm actually feeling.
Yeah.
Like, I may be portraying confidence.
Yep.
You know, for me, people have always told me, you got a poker face, don't know how you're feeling. I'm actually feeling stuff. It's
Yeah.
not that I'm an emotional robot. But in those spaces to go, well, here's what I'm actually feeling. I'm going to trust you with that emotion, that it's not going to be the end of the world. I tend to speak in extremes, and that's part of a tendency of an 8 as well. Like, I'm probably going to make a bold statement right now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that I'm about to quit or leave.
Right,
I
you
just
just have a
want
statement.
you,
Yeah.
I want to practice this and let you know what's actually going on inside. So it's an exercise of vulnerability.
Yeah.
But boy, it's helpful.
Yeah,
Like,
I
if
think
you
so, too.
hold it in,
Because
that's dangerous.
Naming it gives your heart space to receive what the Holy
Nice.
Spirit might. Like, if you can bring it up to mind and then you're aware of it,
Yep.
it gives your heart the whole space for the Holy Spirit to work. It also, naming it to someone now gives space for someone to speak into you, and now you have the ability to work against those
Yeah, that's good.
insecurities.
Yeah. The exclamation point of this section was his idea to do a humility challenge, which listening to it, I was just kind of like, wow, yeah. Like, I don't really have in my head, think like if I'm here or whatever and we leave and Steven has to like move the furniture back. I guess I don't think like, oh, this is going to make me sound so horrible, but it's just true. I don't think like, oh, I should help him with that all the time or rarely.
It's not your natural.
Yeah, like I help people with tons of stuff, but I'm thinking like, I don't know, his examples like hit me. I was like, oh yeah, why don't I ever do that? I don't have a reason not to do it.
Why did they hit you?
Because I don't think about like, I'm that horrible that I don't think like, oh, why don't I help them move those chairs? Like, I just don't.
Danielle is not
Danielle,
horrible.
first
Well,
of
you know
all,
what I'm saying.
are
You know what I'm
like-
saying.
Was
Like,
was it that because they're so simple, or because they're in
Yeah.
like a different
It's like
environment than you would.
Yeah,
you're
it's like
thinking?
simple, and I guess I didn't have that framework for it. And then I started thinking again, back to this like impressing people thing, like, oh my gosh, do people think that I don't care to like help them do things? Anyway, this is not the point, but like the idea to do like a humility challenge, I don't know, I liked it. Sorry, that was like a little bit of a tangent, but like it just spun me. I was like, I need to be more aware of my surroundings and like how I can help people. There are like obvious ways that I help
But
people.
what's so crazy is probably the reason that you're not helping with these things that are on your mind is because you are literally moving in another direction to go help someone else with something
Maybe.
else.
Or maybe I'm just
Is
moving
the
too
likelihood.
fast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's another.
Yeah, it's possible. I think sometimes we can, and maybe this is just a me thing, but we can interpret that person's got it.
Yeah.
Like-
Yes.
So for me, it's like I'm actually not going to ask I'm not going to ask them if they need help because I don't actually want
Am
to
I
be
gonna
an
get in the way?
inconvenience in their process. But that's a false narrative potentially,
Right.
because they could actually have been doing this for
I don't want them to think that I don't think they can do it.
potentially too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I guess the point of the challenge is put yourself in positions
Yeah.
where you're humbling yourself.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be moving chairs or whatever, but like,
In small, easy.
It's
yeah.
almost like a
Actionable ways.
humility risk. Like you're taking,
Yeah.
and I know it's a challenge too, but it's like, I'm going to put myself out there.
Yeah.
I'm going to risk it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's not actually an inconvenience for me, potentially.
Right.
And I'm just going to see if it impacts someone.
And
I
like
mean, it
with
might be, but-
neighbors, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's tons of examples we could think of for what we could do in our neighborhood and for people next to us that would serve with no agenda.
I have a name.
Actually, and I'm going to flip it
Yeah, go ahead.
a little bit too. I think it's like I was on vacation for 3 weeks. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Mr. Spain.
I missed you all at the very end when I got bored. But like my lawn needed to get mowed. It was a bit of humility for me to ask my neighbor, "Hey, can you mow
yeah.
my lawn?"
Oh, that's
Yeah,
a
we
good
do
And that
that too, yeah.
sounds stupid,
No, it's
but like
real.
I got my lawn. Like, I
what-
like to look over my square of green grass and be like, "I am the man." So, can you get my mail? Can you come pick my tomatoes? Can you come like? Even that was a bit of humility to kind of open myself vulnerably to receive help. So I don't know if Derek
That's a good
intended,
point.
but that's like a corollary that I'm thinking of right now.
And what I'm learning about living in a neighborhood with millennial men is the fact that they are happy to mow their lawn and everyone else's lawn. That's like a real thing. Like we actually had a neighbor come over yesterday, looked at Ben. He has an abscessed tooth.
Oh.
His face was like all
Ben
swollen.
does?
No, my
Oh,
neighbor
the
does.
neighbor. Okay.
And he was like, "Hey, I got this app." They're talking about it. He goes, "So do you want me to mow your lawn for you?" Because he was going to mow his lawn. And it's like it's like this man bonding thing. So I promise, more than likely, when you talked to the other person, you're like, "Mow my lawn."
Nobody
They were like,
bothers
"Yes."
me when
How
I'm
long
mowing
was your
my
grass,
lawn.
Sarah?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. It's not my problem.
Yeah, that's me
a
too.
valid
That's Ben's
point.
problem.
I don't
That's
deal with
not
the
mine.
outside.
But yeah, he's like, "I'm gonna mow my lawn. You want to mow your lawn? Like you have an abscessed tooth. Like you're in pain. Like all, and you're thinking
But your
about
grass
taking."
is 6 inches.
I don't want to look at it
He was
anymore.
telling you something.
Your grass hurts me more than
Well,
my
thanks,
tooth.
guys. I didn't think about that. I don't know.
No, that's cool though. That's a good.
You know. So yes, I'm just saying. I'm making a joke, but
But I mean,
men love to mow their lawns.
in my case, if that was me, I would go, no. No, thank you. No. No.
I don't want to inconvenience you. I don't want to burden you.
But let people help you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
And it creates relational inroads, and now all of a sudden, like, can
Yeah.
I help you? And now it can break down barriers.
For sure.
Opens conversations.
Yeah, we've got wonderful neighbors in our street, like just wonderful, and I would say that's the constant challenge. You know, as a self-preservationist, like you know, you want to be able to do things yourself. Don't need to rely on people. Like these guys are constantly, like one of our neighbors. You know, Nicole. We've had some medical stuff with family members, and Nicole just had surgery and stuff. One of the neighbors knew we were like driving back and forth to Pittsburgh, dropped us off a $200 gift card.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I'm like, what?
Oh, that's
That
so
is
amazing.
so kind.
But like, what rises up inside of you? Like, I don't need that. Like, you know, do you
Who
think
can I
I'm-
give it
do you
to?
think I'm poor? You know,
Yeah.
like, you know, all those things, and you're like, whoa, just receive it. You know,
Yeah.
just receive it. I
they
mean, it
really
was-
wanted to do that for
So
you.
does that come to? Would that be in press or? But that probably slots in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I'm
even
sure,
that
yeah.
feeling of like I don't want them to see me
It's
in a
impress,
way
yeah,
that's
for sure.
yeah.
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 Yeah, for sure. Okay, so that's one. Jesus teaches us that radical servanthood is a power move. His second point, Jesus is our example of power and humility and our source of true life. And this is where he defined what a ransom is. Somebody want to talk about that a little bit? Or just the idea of this ransom, the peril, the price, the person.
I'm stuck on the statement. I'm still
Go ahead.
reading it in. No, just
Yeah.
Jesus is our example of power in humility and our source of true life.
Yeah.
That's a wordy.
It's a
point.
lot of stuff.
There's a lot in
So
there.
that's from 40. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to like where the concept of ransom, like where do we run into that in our like daily lives? Like
His
we,
example was like, I have a special set of skills. What's that movie?
Yeah,
Ransom.
Liam Neeson,
Earlier,
yeah.
yeah.
But like,
digital piracy. Like, they took over the company. And
like some
that's probably
blackmail stuff.
Yeah.
And
You know how like
Yes.
companies have to pay $1 million to get their data
get their
back,
data
like
back.
stuff
Yeah.
like that.
I just it was a thing back then. So this like
Yeah.
there's a very powerful image like concept to communicate to us today. Like, what are we really running into? Like I think of like there was a big old prisoner swap with Russia and all the things, whatever your feelings are. But that literally there was a ransom
Yeah.
happening. There was a trade happening. Mm-hmm. But when
That feels very distant, though. That doesn't
correct,
feel, yeah.
correct.
I
The
see what you're
concept of
saying.
ransom, and when he breaks it down, the peril, the price, the person, like he does a good job at making it feel real. Like it's not ransom isn't just something you read in a textbook. Like
Right.
it literally applies to us. We have literally been ransomed. There was no way out, and yet Jesus came and stood in our place for us. I don't know, just making it real helps
Yep.
to. You can hear it so often; it becomes a buzzword.
Yeah, that's true. It is a buzzword.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have an example either, but I appreciate at least bringing that up. Like, how do we make that relatable in a way that we can connect with it? Otherwise, maybe we lose the depth of the meaning.
Right.
You know, we could do that with a lot of scripture as well. Like if we don't have a modern day contextualization of it, are we truly grasping the depth of it?
Right.
Yeah. Interesting.
That is. I want to think about that for a while.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, geez. Okay, thanks for joining us.
I
No,
know,
just kidding.
I-
Didn't really solve anything; just created more.
No, but it's good. That's a good thing to think about. We're going to think about it. We'll talk about it next week. We'll bring it back if we can think of a good one for one. But to break it down spiritually, the peril part of the ransom is we're just slaves to sin, our captivity in sin. And maybe even that has lost some, like even captivity.
yeah.
Like what does that mean today? You know,
Or even like the concept of how I think what
Yeah.
has really been helpful for me is just understanding hell, not necessarily as a place, although I believe it will be, but that hell rather is just an eternity separate from the one that you were created to be with
right?
for eternity.
Yeah.
So it's like,
It's not flames and pitchforks and your
right,
yeah.
your purpose was to be in relationship with the one that created you. And now you will never, ever, ever attain that. But you fully realize that that is what you need in order to really fill that void that you felt your whole entire life.
Yeah. That's crazy.
That's a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
That's a horrible feeling.
And those of us who even are Christians, obviously not perfected at all, and we still have that. We're on earth, we're always going to have some form of that void, obviously. But even to put yourself back
Yeah.
and like think about really successful people in the world who probably aren't believers, like they're chasing stuff.
That will never.
And there's a hole that they're just not filling. It's like
Never.
a bucket with the bottom dropped out of it. And to live that for eternity,
It's horrible.
never full. It's like
Never, no relief in sight. Never.
almost to a finish line
Never. Oh yeah.
for
You're like,
your
oh, it's
entire life,
always-
and it just
And it
keeps,
keeps moving.
moving.
That makes me think of C.S. Lewis, The Great Divorce.
Oh, yeah.
Like and literally he paints hell as just people living lives that look like that day, but just utterly hopeless and going nowhere.
Exhausted.
And just it's a different way to frame
Yeah,
the peril that we face.
it is.
And that's not just it'd be hot and maybe it will be. I don't know.
Like you will
Hope I don't
never
know.
It's always that uncomfortable.
feel any sort of longing at all.
Yeah, and I think that's the point.
Yeah.
And so when Scripture talks about, there's gnashing of teeth, it's almost like It's almost
This
like that.
regret.
Oh, so
Unfulfilled.
close. so
Yeah,
close,
yeah,
like-
like,
yeah.
jeez.
Never have any relief from it.
That feels like more torment than anything else.
Agreed.
And that was just from a parallel standpoint really helpful for me
Yeah.
to like begin to wrap my head around. Because unless you understand the peril, the price doesn't really
Correct.
mean what
Correct.
it means. It might be cool. Oh yeah, Jesus died for my sins, you know. But if you don't know what you're being saved from, like
Right.
the purchase price doesn't actually mean a whole lot.
Correct.
You know, and so you think about somebody who maybe grew up with money. So here's a perfect example. So we have a foster son, Alex. Unofficial foster son, came to us when he was 17. He's now 24. Awesome guy. I get to marry him
Soon.
on the 12th.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Him and his fiance.
Like October 12th?
Yeah, October 12th. So this will have aired by then, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Or the week of it airing? No, yeah, it would have aired.
Sunday, 12th.
So he will be married, but he has a sister who is the same age as Marlo. So my Marlo's 7 years old, almost 8. They're 2 weeks apart. She doesn't have a ton of money, and we wouldn't even consider ourselves incredibly wealthy, but we have a basement. And every time she comes, you know, that's where the kids play with the Legos down in the basement. She wants to be in the basement. My boys want to put the TV on, watch the TV. She doesn't want to watch the TV. She wants to be out. And it's
Do
just
they have like an
it's-
apartment? She lives like in an apartment kind of a situation.
Yeah,
probably.
it's just like one of those
Yeah.
situations like you don't know what you've got until
Yeah.
you don't have it. And
Or
I
you watch someone else like in their
Yeah.
situation, like get excited
man.
about
get
it.
excited because she sees the value in what you actually have. And I
Yeah.
just think as Western Christians, we're just so used to this price because we've heard it so often.
Yes.
You know, so it's just become numb. Like, but
If you don't appreciate the cost, you don't appreciate the price.
right.
So if it costs very little, then the value that you're exchanging is very little. So if you don't fully feel your sin, and I think there are many, many, many people in this country, in the American church, who don't
us.
fully feel the weight of their
Yes.
sin, then they don't fully value Jesus.
Yeah.
Because if we did, would we be
Correct.
arguing about the things that we argue in church?
Right.
100%.
Right. That's good. Okay. I mean, I kind of want to stop.
We covered a lot of ground.
You want
we
to talk
did.
about oil?
Yeah, let's go back to oil. No, that's great. That's good. That's good for today. Let's stop and that was a good conversation. Again, just that discipleship question. Just think through what is stopping me from becoming more like Jesus. And these questions that we've talked about today, I think help get to that as well. Okay, so thanks for joining us today, guys. You can go to whoisgrace.com/next. And no, you cannot. I'm reading Derek's sermon notes. You can go to whoisgrace.com/Mark. You can go to next. You'll get there eventually. whoisgrace.com/Mark for more resources as you take this into your daily life. And yeah, so we'll be back next week. Maybe
week.
not. Maybe we need a week off. 'Cause this one was crazy. Thanks for sticking with us, guys. Have a good week.
Bye.